Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Natasha and my friend
Perla Chase.
I don't know why I said that. And we are talking about
racial identity.
I am Black and Mexican and Perla is?
I'm Mexican, Persian, and Italian. Yep, and we're also going to answer a lot of questions that I'm sure you guys that are also multi-race know exactly how it feels like to be asked, so yeah,
and if you're not multi-race, then this is like a little education kind of video so you know what it's like in our shoes.
Yep.
So here we go. It will be different,
yeah.
But hopefully when you're watching this it can just be like open-minded, because we're not saying that you have to think like this and feel like this is just how we feel.
Yeah, watch this video with like a really open mind and an open heart, because it's one of those things where it's like just the more that we like respect the way someone thinks about themselves and the way that they identify and the way that like they've been raised, like that's all you can really do, and that's like the best way to show compassion and just like, you know, deploy empathy and just like, you know, be understanding.
So what are your like mom and your dad, did people ever ask you that, like what are your parents?
Well, my parents are both biracial, which is something that a lot of people don't know. So my mom's half Mexican, half Italian. My dad is half Mexican, half Persian, which is why like I'm like half Mexican and then just like a quarter Persian, quarter Italian. And my mom and I look a lot alike. I got most of my features from my mom, but my dad and my dad's side of the family is like pretty dark, like significantly like darker features. And so sometimes me next to my dad, we don't always look related. Yeah, that was always just like my growing up, but like my family's a really weird looking family. Like I have a grandma that has like naturally platinum blonde hair with green eyes, and I have some cousins that are gingers, like they literally look like Ed Sheeran, you know what I mean? And so it's always just been like a weird mix, and I've always gotten that like that's your family.
Like your whole entire family, not just like your
not
parents.
Just my parents,
like, all
just
you
like,
guys.
wow, like what's going on there?
Me, the reason I asked that question is because I always get that question. It's always like, what are your parents? Because there's always like an assumption of like a certain race. So my mom's Mexican and my dad's Black, but people always assume they already know that my dad's Black and that my mom's Mexican. So yeah, when I'm with my mom, we don't look anything really alike. I mean, we have certain features, like we have like the same like cheeks and eyes, but like skin tone, she is like a very light skin Mexican. She's from Sinaloa, so she's actually Chinese and Mexican, but identifies more with the Mexican part. And then my dad is like Black and Jamaican, so he's like really dark and stuff like that. So whenever, and I don't live with my dad, I just live with my mom. So whenever I'm out with my mom, people are always like, oh, like who's like that woman? Like ever since I was a kid. But if we're out with my mom and my cousins, they automatically assume that my mom is like the mom of my cousins and I'm like the friend or something like that.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's more like normalized if you see like a Black man like with somebody who's like outside of like their race. And then if you see like a Black woman, it's not really like common. I mean, I think it is a common thing, but it's also like something that's side-eyed, you know what I mean? Like a Black woman being with like a Mexican guy is like different from a Black guy being with a Mexican woman. So I think that's why I always had that question, and I didn't realize that until I started dating this Asian guy, and then people were like would always like look at us like, oh, like you're Black and he's Asian, you know? So there's definitely like an assumption already of like what race and gender will date a certain race and gender.
I notice in my everyday life, like I've always historically since the dawn of time have only really ever gotten hit on by like white guys and like been more embraced by white guys. And when Mexican guys try to like approach me or like hit on me, like as soon as they like get to know me, they're just like, oh no, never mind.
So do you think there's like a certain like reason why? Because I have the same thing, like usually Mexican guys, if they do hit on me, it's like it's because they're like open to like, you know, being with like a girl who's like mixed. But a lot of times I feel like they're like intimidated because in like the Mexican race, especially if you're a guy, like the mom will usually tell you like, you know, to stick with like another like Mexican girl.
And that's a big thing.
Like because they want like that same upbringing that they gave their son. So it's like rare, not like really rare, because I have a lot of Mexican guy friends who do date outside of the race, but it's not as like accepted.
Traditionally, like traditionally it's very much a thing for like Mexican moms to encourage their Mexican sons to date a Mexican woman.
Even Mexican girls too.
So 1000%. So like it used to be like a big like taboo for like a Mexican girl, for example, to date like a white guy or to like date like a Black guy or something like that. And like with me in my situation, like I love everyone. Like it literally doesn't matter to me. Like I joke about this, it's like I will literally date anybody as long as they're like nice and like good looking and like we have chemistry. But like I find that whenever a Mexican guy like tries to hit on me, or like even like any Hispanic guy tries to like hit on me, like they'll like the way I look, you know, we'll get to know each other, it's great. but because I'm not fully Mexican, or because like I'm not super familiar with a lot of like contemporary Mexican like pop culture references, automatically they're like, oh, you're whitewashed, like bye, you know what I mean? And I'm just like, dude, first of all, like stop, like that's super horrible, but like that's just kind of what happens, you know what I mean? Like if you're not like this certain like archetype of like the ideal Mexican girl, I find that like
you're not Mexican enough, basically.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, I feel like with dating, that always comes up. Like that's literally like the first question. Also, if you've ever been on like Tinder or any dating app,
no,
that's usually like one of the first questions they're gonna ask.
Yeah,
like,
seriously.
What are you mixed with?
Especially like just seeing like 1 or 2 pictures of you, and they're like, I can't tell what you are. Like,
yeah, I feel like especially like if a guy, like somebody you're interested in, sometimes they ask because there's this like interest in like not only like what you are, but like almost a fetishization, I would say. Yeah. Especially being like a mixed person is like, it's cool because it's exotic to be mixed and to be like a Latina, but then also whatever else she is, like, ooh, like it's different.
Yeah.
It's not just like, it goes more into like, what are you? It's like for them it's a different kind of question. There's like meaning behind those words. Yeah. That's why I think it's really annoying.
I know, it's just like I get it, like I understand it and there's nothing wrong with it, but like the fetishizing it, I feel like is something that just like always low-key bothered me. Yeah. And like when I want to say I was like either 15 or 16 years old, something else that really bothered me is that I was like starting to date this guy. We were kind of getting to know each other, and for some reason like our race came up in conversation, and he was also Mexican, but he told me just like straight to my face, he was like, I only date light-skinned girls. And I was just like,
colorism, prejudice or discrimination against individuals with a dark skin tone, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. Okay. Either colorism in the Mexican community or Persian, Italian, and have you ever experienced or seen it?
Yeah, to all 3. So I feel like, and you probably have experienced this too, but like I feel like in the Mexican culture, and it's incredibly like basically similar in like the Middle Eastern and Persian sense as well, but like usually like lighter skin is like considered like preferable, yeah, like because of like, what is it, like the old like super antiquated like thought that like if you were like a darker skin, it meant that you were like a day laborer and like you were poor and stuff like that, and if you were lighter skin, you were like, you know, a person of leisure that just like sat at home and didn't do shit, you know, like a rich person essentially.
Yeah, or possibly white passing, which would be beneficial.
Yeah, and so with things like that, like for a Mexican person and for like a person of color in general, like I guess I am lighter skinned, like I have a fair skin tone, it's just the way I was born. And I felt like both a lot of love and a lot of hate from it. Like I felt like extremes from both, I guess, scopes. And like when I was like younger, I had this aunt who, like, she's passed away now, but like I had this aunt who showed a lot of preference over me versus one of my sisters because I was really light and one of my sisters was really dark. And for me, like, I didn't care. Like, I genuinely didn't care either way. Like, I was super indifferent about it. But I know it affected my sister a lot when we were younger, and like it was something that hurt her a lot.
Was it my experience within like the Black and the Mexican community? So because I did grow up around like my mom and her family in the Mexican culture, it was always like commented that, you know, like that I was Black or that my siblings and us were Black, and we'd always get the oh my gosh, like you're so pretty for a Black girl, but like in Spanish, like for like la negra, muy bonita, stuff like that. So we kind of just like got used to those comments, but it was for sure something that you grew up like hearing if you're maybe a darker skinned person in the Mexican community. Whenever you go to Mexico, you just get stared at, like you're just different looking, you know. And my sister is like lighter, and she has more like Mexican features and also like Asian features. Like she has like her eyes, or it's not like we don't consider it mixed, but they call it like chinky eyes, which is like a positive like thing. Just I don't want to like do it again, but you know what I'm talking about, right? Yeah. So like she would always get a lot of, like growing up, like compliments, I guess, for being like, oh, like you look more Mexican. Like that was like something you would always hear, you look more Mexican, and like, oh, like, and you look like more Black. And it was just like cool because my mom, she did raise us to always like love our skin tone, love our heritage. So I felt like I've never, like I know a lot of like African American people do go through this where they feel insecure about the skin color, but I've always felt like super like confident in my own skin, being Mexican and Black, because my mom raised me with that love. So like even though I get those comments all the time, like, oh, you're pretty for a Black person, or like you're pretty but maybe not as pretty as her because she looks more Mexican, it was never something that I felt insecure. But I do know that there is like like a dark side and like a positive side to it, because I do have cousins who are like full Mexican, and some of them are like blonde, like blue-eyed looking, and the other ones are like similar to my skin tone even though they're Mexican and they live in Mexico. And they'll be called like la negra, and like not in a positive way, it's more like in a negative way. So like they are bullied because they are darker skin tone.
And it's always extra hard when it comes like from family.
Yeah.
You know, like I've noticed that now, like in growing up and like hearing other people's experiences, I'm like, I can't believe that like your family thought it was okay to say these hurtful things to you, like especially as a kid, like not knowing the repercussions of that, like psychologically.
Yeah,
like that's insane.
It's like ingrained in our culture, like for these things to like pass and normalize, when like, you know, maybe if you get like more education or grow up and you're like, wow, that was really like fucked up, like what she said,
when she like, wow, that really is not okay.
That
like didn't know that because I was like 8 years old.
Yeah,
but I'm really happy that your mom like raised you to like love yourself as you are.
Like we don't look like the stereotypical like Mexican, but Mexicans can look however like they want to, like they can look like different from one Mexican to another. And I think that's also been like a big problem in like the Latino community, is that the Latinx community is that there's not representation for different like Latinas and stuff like that.
And like the different features and stuff like that, like
skin tone.
like I said, like my grandma, like on my mom's side, she's full Mexican 100%, but she was born with platinum blonde hair and green eyes, and it was like hard for her to relate to people like when she was much younger, and like sometimes people would like hate on her and be like, oh, you think you're better because you have like a colored eye or something like that, and she's like, no, like I literally had nothing to do with this, like I was just born and that's all, you know. So yeah, that's so true, honestly. For a long time I was like, how come I never see a girl that looks like me on TV? You know what I mean? Like I never saw like a Perla. Like I never saw anybody with like my features. I would just see like, you know, blonde hair, blue eyes, like a little white girl. And like, you know, they were cute. You guys are cute and all, but like I was just like, you know, like when am I gonna see someone that looks like me? And like it would be frustrating. And I remember being frustrated at like 7 and being like, when am I gonna see a show with someone that looks like me? Like it made me question for a long time, like if I was pretty or not. You know, like if I, like, do people not think like people that look like me are pretty? Like am I not in that category?
Yeah, like my mom, she says that growing up I always wanted the white Barbie dolls, and like she'd always be like, no, you want the black Barbie dolls. Like no, I want the white one, because I thought like, you know, the white Barbie was prettier than like the darker Barbie. And so she would always like tell me and then point that out to me, and I was like, Mom, that's because growing up I only ever saw like white people on TV, on magazines, like anywhere I looked. So in my like and a lot of like children, like even today, like they will like think like the white person is like, you know, the prettiest, like that's what the societal beauty standards is, like blonde hair, blue eyes. Like when I was younger I thought Miley Cyrus was so beautiful. I was like, she's so pretty, and no offense like Miley Cyrus and that, but now I'm looking and I'm like, why did I think that she was like beautiful? Like in my mind, like this little girl, you know, you guys don't even, you know what I mean?
Just say it what it is.
This little white girl, who was like beautiful.
Like, because that's just all we saw, you know. She was like being praised as like Hannah Montana, you know, so we're like, oh my god, like that's the shit, you know what I mean? Like no, I completely get it. And then like people would go out and buy like the Hannah Montana wig, and like every little girl wanted to be a blonde, and like
this friend, and she was black, and she would always like make this dumb comment that hurt my feelings when I was younger, but she'd always be like, oh, you're such like a burrito, which was like, I know it sounds really dumb.
I mean, it sounds kind of like cute, like,
but it was like a negative. It was negative.
But like I can see why there's like negativity.
Like, because you're like Mexican and you're black, like you're a mixture, so it's like a burrito, like that was her thing. And like growing up, she always like, you're not black enough, like you don't act black, and so she would be like drop like Tupac references or like Biggie references, and I would never like know the songs and stuff like that. I mean, I did grow up on Tupac, but I never knew like other things that she would talk about. And it was always very much just like, you're not black. And so then I felt like, okay, now I really gotta like educate myself on like pop culture, black pop culture, so I can be seen as black.
No, I completely understand. Or like when people throw out like Mexican slang and like they expect you to understand and respond, and it's like, look, I don't know what you just said to me, I'm sorry, or something like that. And I have a lot of friends right now that like they're just more in tune with like Mexican and like Hispanic pop culture, and I don't know how they are, and like probably just through social media, but like when they bring something up, it's like I don't know what artist you're talking about, like I don't know what movie you're talking about, like I'm sorry, like that's just not something that we relate on. So after a while they just kind of know to just like if they want to talk to me about those things, like they know that like I'm not gonna have a lot to offer to the conversation, you know? And so like they're courteous in that way, where it's like they're not just gonna like, you know, sprout something up on me and just like expect me to have like, you know, a great answer, but like yeah, when I was younger, like, people weren't so forgiving. People would be like, oh, what do you mean you don't watch this? What do you mean you don't know who that is? Like, what do you like to do, you know?
Kids can be cruel.
Yeah, and like then they like talk mad shit about the things that you actually like, and it's like, well, it's not my fault that, you know, like when everybody was like watching, you know, the Mexican channel, what was it?
Rebelde.
Yeah, something like that, or something like that, and like I was like at home literally watching like Little House on the Prairie, because that's what my mom wanted me to watch so I could learn to speak English correctly. It's like, it was hard, you know.
In school, there was like a lot of black kids and then other like white kids. And so if you're like black, you liked hip hop. Like that was just the thing. And if like I liked a lot of bands and alternative music, and you couldn't show that, because if you show that, you were whitewashed. And like that was always the thing that they would call you, like whatever you are to insult you. Yeah, right?
I hate it. Like literally,
I'm not even white, but that's not even the point.
Like yeah, like I'm literally like, I've never in my life tried to pass for white. Like I know I can't pass for white. Like that's ridiculous. You know what I mean? Like it's just like, these are just the things that like I think are interesting and like cool, and like it just so happens that like white people happen to like these things. And you know, I don't know, I feel like sometimes people just like find a way to like put you down, and like they push certain buttons, and it's just like, you know what, never mind, I'm just gonna keep it to myself then. Like,
and then the fact that they call you like whitewash, it really, I always hate that too, because it doesn't make sense, because you are what you are. Like I am black, I am Mexican, you are Persian, Italian, Mexican, that is in my blood, so period. Like no matter like what you think that I am, that's what I am, and that's not up for debate. Have you come to accept yourself, and if so, how'd you get there? If not, how come?
I feel like I'm still on the path of accepting myself. Like I feel like I've accepted myself in the sense that like I'm no longer trying to overcompensate for like people that think I should act a certain way, or like dress a certain way, or look a certain way, or anything like that. Like dude, I'm good. Like I'm fine. Like I'm chill. Like I love the way I look. I think I love the things that I like, you know, like in pop culture and media and shit like that. But I feel like in terms of accepting like myself fully, like whole, like I do think like sometimes like the being more self-aware, and then like the kind of like, am I being a hypocrite or not, like questioning myself is like something that I still have to work on before I can say I fully accept myself. But like as a person, like my persona as a whole, like Perla Chase, Perla Hernandez, your girl Chase, whatever the fuck, like that whole thing, like I accept it and I like it. And this is like, it took 23 years to get here, but I really like what I present myself as to the world. So I like it that way, but I just have to be more self-aware and like, I don't know, become more aware of like the hypocrisy in my life, I guess.
So like I have become accepting of both my cultures and myself overall. Like I did go through some struggles, I think, growing up with what to identify as, and if somebody didn't agree with that, well, like I have to prove myself more to be what I say that I am. But I think now that I am older, and I feel like literally just like representation, seeing it in the media, but also educating myself about what it is to be like a person of color, a black woman, a Latino woman, I feel like I'm more comfortable in my skin than I've ever been. And I hope that it'll just like continue to grow love, because I love myself and I love my culture. And I'm just really proud of like where I come from and my roots. So
that's beautiful.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, there's really nothing better than like self-acceptance and like loving yourself, you know, like I think that one of like my favorite points in my life was when I finally like was able to like look at the things that I was like insecure about in the past before, and then just realize like those things don't exist anymore. Like they're not things that hold you back anymore. So I think that like, I don't know, that's a really like powerful statement to say, that like change in like the setting, because we're chasing the sun right now.
We're chasing the sun with your girl Chase.
Chasing the sun with your girl Chase. That's my handle. That's my Instagram handle.
Her Instagram handle is going to be in the link, and her podcast, I will connect everything so you can find my girl Chase. So last question, any advice to the young Latina or Latino that may see this? Do you want to go first?
I mean, I feel like it goes without saying, but like just accept yourself for who you are. Like even if you think you don't fit in like the typical Latina, Latinx, whatever you want to say it, community, like you're still Latino. Like you still are what you are, you know? Like if you want to accept yourself, like that's the best possible thing you could do, because like no one else is gonna do it for you, you know? Like even if you don't like look like the people that you think that are beautiful, like you're gonna accept yourself. Like you're gonna see it one day. Like I never saw it coming when I was 12, that I was gonna like find a woman in a magazine and like suddenly relate to her and like be able to resonate like how I felt about myself with her. But you know, it's gonna happen for you one day. Like you just have to keep an open mind and be positive about it. But the second that you accept yourself, you're gonna like free yourself from all the insecurities and like all the negative judgment and like all the self-harm, and yeah, your life is just gonna get like exponentially better. Like I promise you, like the best thing that ever happened to me was being able to like look myself in the mirror and be okay with who I am. So the sooner you can do that, the better.
Yeah. And just know that just because if you don't look how the stereotypical Latina looks like in media, just know that we all look different.
Yeah, literally we all look different. Like look at the two people that are in this video right now.
We look different, and just don't ever forget that just because if somebody like that you grew up with says that you are not enough, know that you are enough, no matter like what percentage you are of like what race. It doesn't matter what other people say. If you feel confident in your skin, if you love yourself, then that's really all the importance that you're gonna need in this life. You're not gonna need anybody else's opinion. If you're going through, like you're struggling with your identity right now, or like maybe you don't identify like, you know, as like a Latina, maybe you identify as, I don't know, just like anything else, whatever you identify as, like that's fine, like that's your personal decision. And so just be confident with that, and when you love yourself, like she said, everything's gonna get so much better for you. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please follow my girl on all of her social media platforms
at Your Girl Chase.
And please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you again for another video. Bye.